Welcome to One Tired Teacher, episode 67, a closer look at standards-based grading. So today I'm excited because I have a teacher from South Dakota, a third grade teacher. She teaches in a very small rural town, and she is going to talk to us all about standards-based grading. They have started that this year, and we really have a nice chat about what that looks like and wrapping our brains around some of the things that we have to do when we are moving to standards-based report cards and standards-based assessments. It's a really great conversation. I hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey, so today I am talking to Erin Julius, a third grade teacher from South Dakota, and she's going to be talking all about standards-based grading and standards-based assessment. It's such a different world when we start thinking about really breaking it down into all those standards and not just saying it's one grade. And what does that look like? So it's pretty, it can be really tricky sometimes when we first start that. And I know that my district is starting in kindergarten. We've been doing standards-based grading and standards-based, work for years now. But we never jumped on the standards-based report card bandwagon, or not even bandwagon, but the way that we could actually explain that to parents. We never really got to that point, and now we finally are in my district. And like I said, we're starting with kindergarten, and then we're going to be moving on up. And this teacher, they have already started in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and third grade, and then they will be moving up to fourth grade next year. So she has already had a little bit of experience with this and what it looks like and what it feels like and how you have to kind of shift your mindset. You're no longer looking at it as an average. You're looking at how kids are working within the standard and what kind of information that really gives us. So I'm excited about that conversation. So let's get on with the show. So I'm so excited today to have Erin Julius, a third grade teacher from a rural town in South Dakota. She has 11 students. So Erin, we are so glad to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy you are. I can't believe you have 11 students. Let's talk about that first, because I think that's unbelievable. Like, how amazing.
It is. This is my second year in this school, and I had 8 students last year, and it was like a birthday party every day.
Yes.
Because we could do so many things and plan so many activities, and we could just get through so much material, and it was fantastic. Now this year my 11 come with a lot of variety and a lot of needs. I feel good being here in the middle of South Dakota, but still in touch with what's going on kind of everywhere else. I'm not completely out of the loop, but I do try to do a lot of reading to keep abreast of what's going on with everyone else. And
yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Like, I think it's really, when you talk to teachers in different states and in different places, it's so, and then now in Florida, we're abandoning the Common Core that we rewrote and called it our own, a Florida Core. And now we've decided that we're anti that. So now we're bringing on new standards that are coming out next year. So that'll be interesting. So I don't know. Like, I think it is so interesting to see such a difference all over the country, and the different, people are getting different education.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And in that, what is it? Because I talk to my students, they're in 8 and 9, and it's like, so in the future, you'll have a job, and these are the things that will impact you, I think, and be really important for you to know how to do. Or I can say from my experience, when I worked in the finance industry, I did a lot of writing. Weird, but I'm a good writer, and so I rewrote handbooks and how you do things and step-by-step processes.
Wow.
And those are the kinds of things that in work, generally, you need to have a process, how to train people and what they need to know. And so, those are things that are important. we're
Yeah.
doing fractions, and the kids couldn't figure out what was important about fractions, although they've enjoyed talking about pieces of cookies and pieces of candy bars. But I said, when you cook, you use fractions
Mm-hmm.
all the time. Every meal you cook, you use, most people use fractions when they're cooking. I said, it's really an important skill to have. And so as much as we can relate everything that they're learning now to what the future brings for
Yes.
them, to make that connection is really important. Although I don't know that I know exactly what the future brings for them.
No, I know. I don't think we can even imagine the kinds of jobs that are going to be available for them. But I
Exactly.
do think it's important to make it relevant. Then kids feel
Mhm.
like they have more buy-in and they understand the why behind what they're learning.
Mhm.
I think
Way
that's
more
really
so
important.
than when I was a kid.
Yeah,
You
me
know,
too.
when I was growing up, it was like, oh, just sit down, listen to what the teacher says, regurgitate it back, go on to the
Yes.
next grade. And it
Yeah.
definitely has a different feel.
No, I like that though. I like that because I always wanted to know. Like I always wondered and wanted to know. And I was a kid that would sit there and think to themselves, why are we doing this? Like, why do we have to know this? And some of that, like I never had to use again. And so I do
Yeah.
wonder about that. But I know that, like I said, watching my son, he's very much like that. He's such an outside of the box thinker and he learns the best by moving and like hands on and doing things like that. And so for him, he has to know why it's relevant or he gets
Mhm.
really frustrated. And so I think that, I don't know, I think that makes sense. Okay, I know we could just go off on many topics. So I want to know, so we're talking about standards-based learning and standards-based assessment. Do you all have a standards-based report card?
We created it this year.
Wow.
As we're going, I
Uh-huh.
actually went to the closest bigger district. It turns out last year their third grade was going to standards-based assessment this year, and they
Mhm.
had over the summer last year a workshop that I was able to attend. So third grade has, it's mind-boggling to me that there are like 28 standards in ELA, and
Mhm.
math is even more than that. But they picked out the super standards just to focus on this
Okay.
year while getting our feet wet and not to overwhelm parents with pages and pages of report card.
Yes, because
Um,
will you eventually assess every single one on the report card, or will you always have like super standards?
I think that my feeling is that we need to assess more of them.
Okay.
I don't think parents are getting a great picture of everything that we're doing at school. I
Hmm.
think the report card looks small to me.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
but we picked two or three standards in each area.
Hmm.
So, and some of them have 7 to 10 standards. So
Yes.
it's not all representative, but the super ones were what we think are key learning at
Yes.
this point.
Yeah,
So it
I'm
was great to have
curious.
that collaboration.
Yeah,
And
I love that. Like that actually that's how I like to figure things out. So I think that makes total sense. But we're starting like we have, we've been doing, doing standards-based teaching for so long now and now they're finally coming out with the standards-based report card and they're starting with kindergarten, but they're doing it like now instead of at the beginning of the year. They're introducing
oh,
it at the progress report for third quarter. And so our parents are going to be so confused and our teachers are so confused and it's like, but they did the same thing starting in kindergarten. They've picked the standards that they feel like are the key learning points. But I
mhm.
felt the same way when I looked at it that you just said. I'm like, this isn't a representation of everything that they're doing. And I think we've left some pieces out of like, especially looking at it. I always look at the reading part because that's like where my passion is and that's where my strength of teaching it was. And so I'm like, I always am like, oh, what are they assessing in ELA? And I just feel like, I don't know, like I feel like there's parts that they especially like the higher level thinking is like missing on this report card is what I felt like.
Yeah, and I agree with that because it's like even in the writing pieces, it's
Hmm.
like I can write a real or imagined narrative, and that's all there is. And it's like that's the one. But we're
Wow.
doing all of this grammar, and we're doing
Yes.
dictionary work and all of these
Conventions
things,
and yeah, punctuation and yes.
but it doesn't exist to show there that they have all those things. And the other piece that I also feel is missing is that we don't, I printed when we started this fall, the I can statements that go
Hmm.
with it,
Hmm.
because I think that would also help the students make a connection. We don't have a requirement for that in our classroom to have a visual
Oh, wow.
anywhere. And so I think that's a missing link that I would work on for next year to make sure that
Mhm.
was incorporated. And I do think that we need to do more to not just have the super standards, but include
Yes.
all of the pieces that support it.
I agree. And when you think of it like that, okay, so because that's a shift for some teachers when they even think about standards-based grading, because they've always thought of it as like for us, we had like A, B, C or whatever a long time ago. And then we moved to 1, 2, 3, 4, and being 3 meeting meeting the standard and 4 being exceeding. And so, and then, and so on. And so when we first shifted to that thinking, people still wanted to give kids an average. They still wanted to say, okay, well, in in this assessment they got a 2, and in this one they got a 2 again, and then they got a 3, and then over here they got a 4, and they're like, okay, I'm just going to give them an average. But I'm like, I don't think that's the way that we have to think about standards-based grading. I think we have to see how they're moving along in the standard. So if they've now been able to produce work that's exceeding it, then I'm going to say they're exceeding it. I don't have to have 25 grades that say they're exceeding it. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's interesting too, because the second grade teacher and I are going, kindergarten first went last year, second and third this year. And I said, well, I don't have to record any daily work. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need grades to support. I have our assessments and then the work that we do related to the standards.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it because we ran into trouble with not remember what we marked. Did they meet? Did they are they approaching or did they meet? What did I put on last report card? Because this time when I did the assessment, they're not meeting it anymore
Yes.
for whatever
Yeah.
reason. And so we didn't know how to deal with that. That was something we, had to sit down at one of our staff cluster meetings to talk
Mm-hmm.
about how to deal with those things, because yes, they had it in October, but when
Mm-hmm.
in February, we hadn't touched on it. And when we did the assessment, because it's part of the assessments, they didn't.
They didn't have it. Yes.
They didn't need it, and now they're back. What do we do about that? How do we explain that to parents?
What did
And
they say? What was the answer to that? Because I could think that makes total sense that would happen.
and we wanted to make it accurate to what there is. So that's
Mm-hmm.
how, when you're saying to average it out, it doesn't work that way.
Yes.
Because if they could do it, but no, they can't, the average doesn't help you explain that or prove what the student can really do.
Yeah.
Or what you should focus on, for lessons and your planning.
Yes, and to drive your instruction. Like
Right.
I remember sitting down with because at the time I had a teaching partner. Like she taught math and social studies and writing, and I taught reading and science, and we flipped classes back and forth. So whatever class I started with, she ended with, and then we reversed it the next day. Whoever I ended with, I started with, and we flip-flopped. And so we basically had 48 kids. And, because we had each class had their kids. And so we talked about it, and I'm like, how are you going to wrap your brain around this? And she's like, I think I'm going to create, and she created this document where she recorded how they did on, various assessments, whether they were like quick formative exit tickets or they were, a longer assessment. And she did keep track of it. She still kept track. And so did I in reading. I was like, I'm still going to keep track of it. But then when I give them more like a summative assessment, I want to see how they're doing. I want to look at how they're doing in the standard on that. And so I felt like I could still say to parents, like, it's not consistent. They're not consistently meeting, the expectations, but, or they are, and now they've, gone, they slipped a little bit. And so now we're going to refocus on characters overcoming obstacles or whatever the standard is. And so, but what did they tell you to do? Like, what was the response to that?
We, I guess we're still kind of finding our way on our own, answering that truly. We have conferences this week. That's why I thought this would be timely for me to talk to another professional about it before I go into parent conferences this week. I think in fall, they were just confused about what we were doing and didn't get it at all. And I had one mom call later and say, we give our other kids rewards for A's and B's, and we don't have A's and B's for this kid anymore. So what are we going to do? And that was, I was like, well, you can do what you want. This is what she's doing. And my expectation is that she would be moving and improving her skills throughout the year so that she would master everything by the end of the year.
Yes.
Is she going to master her times table in December? I don't think so.
No,
we don't introduce it until December, so that she would master it in the same month would be pretty much a stretch. But by April, you should have a good feel for the multiplication or whatever, and our math stuff loops around too. So you can just, what I created was a portfolio for each student, and we just put work in there. So we put math papers in there, we put spelling tests, we put vocabulary words, we've done our daily grammar has gone in there. So we just have evidence of the work that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
But the hard part in that too, and what I've realized kind of going along with the average piece, is that even in the writing piece where you have a rubric, it's kind of subjective.
Yes.
As a teacher.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they did so much, they did so much better than they've ever done before. And there are these descriptive things, and I really want to give them more points, but they're not meeting that box on the rubric. Can I, what should I do? And that subjectivity kind of always comes in there. And I think that's pretty similar to what you're saying with the average. As a teacher, you just have that gut feeling, this kid has mastered it, or this kid hasn't mastered it. And you can just let those things override the black and white paperwork that you have in front of you.
Yes, I do. I definitely think it's a shift, because it is hard not to let your brain go back to the whole averaging thing. And then you're like, well, also, because I always felt like effort was part of a student's grade. Sometimes I'm like, this is this effort that doesn't actually meet what they're capable of doing. And so I'm like, where does that play into this factor now? How does that look?
And when we went and visited another school, they just pulled that completely off and have a separate category for it. And that's something that's currently driving me nuts with our report card as it is, because we just went with standards for language arts and math this year. So for science, social studies, the only grade that's theirs is participation.
Wow.
And so I'm like, and I go through and I look, and I'm not the tech teacher, I'm not the music teacher, I'm not the FIAD teacher, and the kids that they like all have exceeds, and the kids that they don't like have needs improvement. And I just think we're really missing the gap on that, because I just think there's no way that in tech my students in third grade have exceeded the tech standards for the year. There's just no way that could happen. I don't have anyone that is that proficient in technology that they've done that. But we're not to that step yet.
No,
and that's another difficulty for parents, I think, in reading the report card.
Yeah, I think so too. And I was just going to ask that, do you even have it broken down as far as, let's say we're talking about the first standard in ELA, the literature standard, asking and answering questions. Let's say we were talking about that. Would it, do you have it broken down by quarter? It should look like this at this point, it should look like this at this point, and then so on, so that they were able to exceed the expectation for the quarter? Or is it just simply the standard and you're not going to be able to exceed until you've gotten more learning in?
And that's what my take is on it, is that you're starting here at the beginning of the year. We haven't started learning yet.
Doing
so
it.
Everyone would, and ours is the NAME scale, needs improvement, approaching, mastered, and exceeds. Most everyone, and that was the other thing. In fall, the second grade teacher's like, I'm giving a lot of M's. Are you giving? I'm like, I'm giving N's. They need improvement. They haven't figured this out yet. My goal would be then to have them at mastery by the end of the school year.
Yes. And everything else standards.
Yeah.
That makes sense, talking it out. But how do you say that to parents? Here they are at an end, all these ends in the beginning of the year. Yes, that's tricky. That's really tricky.
And feel terrible about their kid. And I just try to spend so much time talking about that. We haven't done multiplication yet. We haven't even gotten to the lessons with triple digit. So it says I can fluently add, subtract within 1,000. We haven't gotten past double digits yet. It's October.
October.
We don't get to the triple digits until late November. And so they can't do that right now. We haven't given them any strategies for solving those problems. We haven't worked through those things at all. So it's an N right now, but they're going to improve. They're on track. They're doing all of the things that they need to do. And I don't know, maybe that's having part of it, if it was a parent education piece.
Oh, I
And
agree. I agree. Yeah.
we didn't have anything. I know the other schools, they had parent meetings where they came into the third grade classroom before school started, so they talked about it. We didn't have anything like that. We just went into it, and
we're like, here you go. Well, I know, and I think that's confusing to parents. And I do feel like I'm just wondering what other districts and states are doing around the country with this. Like, what are the parents, how are they responding? Because I know I think that would be hard to look at it and go, well, when am I going to know if they, how are they? Like maybe they don't meet it at the end of the year. And then you go, oh no, like now I'm at fourth quarter and they're not meeting it. So
what should we have done?
Yes. And how can I tell that? Because it didn't seem as alarming that they need to work on it as it does when you see like an F. You know what I mean? So, or
exactly.
even a
D. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You at least have some, okay, they're getting a little bit closer. Like that just seems so vague. And then also, what do you think about like those standards that are being left off, like science and social studies, but also like all the standards? Let's say you're even talking about, the first 20, even if we're talking about that, if they're not on there, do people tend to not teach them as, as often? Like I was worried about that.
Interesting idea. I had felt personally that it was really important to focus all the way around on all of the standards, not just the super standards that we had selected. And I was, in fact, assigning today. We're using Freckle, the program for our interventions, and I was assigning today area and perimeter, which is what we're studying in math in our number corner time, but is not one of the things that we're talking about in our report cards.
Yeah.
But I was like, they're not understanding the difference between perimeter and area. And so I assigned more assignments like that today in that. So when they log into Freckle and we're going to do math, and that's what they're going to get to work on. It's not one of the standards that we're doing. Yes. So I think it's really important to make sure that we're doing all of the standards.
Yes.
But then the report card certainly isn't reflecting everything that's going on.
No. Yeah. That kind of stresses me out. Like thinking about it, that's, I have to be honest. It makes me feel like stressed as an educator. Cause I'm like, either give it all to me or like, give me a way that I can show, like I need to be able to show, you know what I mean? Like if it's not that I need every single one, like I don't need to go into some of these reading foundation skills. Like I don't need to show that on the report card because I'm not going to go over however many total, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. I still can't wrap my brain around it.
Right. And this year was so difficult in just wrapping your head around how it was going to work and what people were going to, trying to anticipate what parents were going to come back with their feedback. And we met as a group, was that last week? I don't remember. We had a field trip last week and it threw everything off and a snow day. So recently, and we were like, what are we going to do with this is the first year we're having midterm spring conferences instead of at the end of third quarter. We're doing it midterm. So those
that's interesting.
Students that maybe are struggling, we can have a wake-up call now before.
I like that actually. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and so that's a big adjustment. We were like, what are we going to do? It seems so long ago since second quarter report cards went out. And we decided to start all conversations with, do you have any concerns? and just see what feedback the parents provide and what they bring. We'll have copies of their report card that went home in January.
Do you have that coming up now, or you had it already?
Week. Yeah.
Oh, you do?
This week.
Oh, yeah. I would be really interested to see how it goes, like what they say specifically.
Right. Because when second quarter report cards went out, I didn't have any feedback or any questions at all. There was some follow-up in fall after first quarter, but second quarter, everybody just did their thing. So now I am kind of curious what they'll be thinking towards the end of third quarter.
Yes,
what we're doing.
Do you have? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like third quarter is always the one where we finally get to the new material.
Yes.
And we're working really hard, and so it's everything feels like it's in process. It's like we're just about getting this down, and we're just about getting this down, and we're so close. So by the end of third quarter, we'll have so many more of those things accomplished.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Do you have that in fourth? Like, is fourth and fifth grade standards
they're
based?
going, they're
Oh,
going
they
next
are
year.
next year.
Yeah.
Okay, so
They're
you
pretty
trickle. That's what we're
hesitant.
doing.
Yeah.
I'm sure because it'll be a massive shift for them because
Yeah.
have they been giving like letter grades?
Letter grades. Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't even do the transition. Like we did a transition at least for where we did the 1, 2, 3, 4, even though I used to get like frustrated even with that because it was like an ELA grade, which didn't even have it broken down into reading and writing. It was literally just one grade. And I'm like, how do I take all these standards in reading and all these standards in writing? And how do we make a grade for, I mean, like, how do I show that to you in a 1, 2, 3, or 4? I'm like, that's so, I used to write in, I would say, this is what your writing grade basically would have been. That was in the comments because I needed for them to understand where they were.
Interesting.
It was like elaborate reports that I would create for each student so that they could understand like main things.
Right, where they are. And the portfolio idea has been, has worked pretty well, I think, as far as having things to refer to, to see where they've come from, because we have included writing things from the beginning of the year and from throughout the year, and then it was just funny, the last thing that we wrote about, some kids got to the end of the first page and wanted to go on with their narrative and wanted to go on. So that's new. There definitely is growth there.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's exciting. And I thought, and we can show that to mom and dad too.
Yes. I love when they do that. They're like, I want more paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about like common assessments? Do you have common assessments?
We're not using anything, across the board. I found third grade on Teachers Pay Teachers. And I'm using those assessments, which went really fine. Fall quarter or first quarter, second quarter, kids remembered different pieces of it. When I was doing the reading fluency, they were like, oh, I remember this story, and then some of the pieces had additional, here's a story with questions and stuff for the comprehension. They had different ones for each quarter, but not all of the materials. I mean, it's huge. Huge amount of assessment materials just to organize for only 11 kids. I don't know how. I mean, I'm like, how would I do this for 25 kids? It's huge.
It's a lot.
To just keep this organized. And I've changed in my binder like 3 times from a 1 inch to a 2 inch to now it's 5-inch binder.
No, that's crazy. No, you're right. It's a lot, especially when you have, I mean, we usually had classes of 18 to 20. And no, it was a lot. And then when we did the double classes, it was just a lot of things to keep track of and a lot to know and put together.
And then just gathering that data. Somebody was asking about a student that is in the title program, and I did an assessment this week, and I'm like, wait a second, they red flagged in the STAR assessment that I did this week. What do you think about this kid? And she was like, tell me more about what we are doing. And I said, this and this and this. I'm like, they've been on vacation for 2 weeks. They're just back. She was in first quarter. She passed out a title second quarter. This is what I see in the classroom. And I'm like, that's just one kid. And you're having this in-depth conversation about where they are reading. And I think, gosh, when I was a kid, or even when I went to school, reading was, you're in the red group, the blue group, the orange group. And none of it, and it was just, it didn't even matter. But I'm like, here, I think it's a benefit of the standards. It's just have such in-depth knowledge of where a student
of where they are. No, and how it's not just that they comprehend, it's like how they are comprehending, and like specific things, not just main idea, but how are they, author's purpose and point of view and all that. I actually like that part of it. And when I was in the classroom, I created these because I'm like, I want to have my own assessment. Like I want to be able to determine how they're doing in each standard. So I created these like almost like graphic organizers for each of the reading standards. And then I put at the top, it had a rubric on it saying, it was a 1, 2, 3, or 4, which was basically,
Yep.
meeting, exceeding, and so on,
Yep.
because that's what grades we were using. And then I had some blanks. So the kids, like I'd go over the criteria with the kids and they would add to it. So they could add, have some input, and then they would use that they could use it on any story. And it had
Okay.
and there was like 2 different options. Like you had option A or option B, and option A was like what you would give a student that was, basically meeting the expectations and didn't need extra support. And then option B had like either didn't have lines, they could draw instead of write, or it had fatter lines, or it had sentence stems to help them get, like it had support. So it was
Yes.
like, so then you could differentiate. And then you had a variety of choice, and like, I want to assess the standard like this, or I want to assess it like this. And I'm like, those worked really well for me, because then I really felt like I had a good picture of
What
what
you
they could
wanted.
do.
Yeah.
Yes. And what I wanted, like what I wanted to see. And I actually have them in my store on TPT, and I had a school district buy them, and that was a very exciting day. And I was like, woohoo, like what happened?
Yeah.
That was crazy. I was like, I thought there was something wrong with my phone for a few minutes. And then I'm like, well, that makes sense, because you would have a common assessment. Like that totally makes sense. And I
Right.
normally get like really good feedback on it, but I did have somebody write, and they were like, this is just a graphic organizer. And I'm like, what do you mean just a graphic organizer? Like that shows your thinking. Like, that's what I want to see. Like I want them to write it out, and I want to see that. So I don't know. Like I just felt like, really? Do you need just to have a bubble, like a ABC test in order for it to be a test? I don't understand.
Yeah. No, and I want to see what they can do, and how they're writing, and what words they're using, and their spelling, and all of those pieces of it that are
Because it
so.
gives you so much information. It gives you all of that when you can see what they've written, rather than when they're just like guessing between A, B, C. So
Yeah, which is the correct grammar.
Yeah.
Correct use of commas, whatever it is. It would be, and I know that, I mean, of course, we're small schools, so we have small budgets, and it would be really nice to have the same system of assessments, because again, you take out that, no, I can't think of the word, the slant, or that I can influence based on my personal feeling.
Yes. Yeah. Like being subjective. Yeah. I think it's, yeah, I agree. It's hard because you are going with your gut. And then what does that look like in the classroom next door? How many third grade classes do you have? I mean, if you only have 11 students, is it just you? Are you the
One
only
section? Yep, I am.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And I'm, how, I mean, a tiny school, there's lots of, people come and go. We've got this real good vibe going on. We're working with second grade, working in fourth grade, making those connections so that our curriculums do overlap and connect. Or if I said to fourth grade, we started a new writing curriculum. She went to a class this summer and she shared it when she came back. And I said, so this is what I'm doing this year in third grade. And this is all the farther we've gotten, because the writing process takes so
it does. You're right.
long.
That would be a real benefit to having like such a small.
If you've done that.
Yeah.
That helps me so much next year. Right. And then then the fifth grade teacher's like, what are you guys talking about over there? And I'm like, if we can really work together with our curriculum like that, we can do fantastic things.
Absolutely.
Over the course of their time here. So that part is really
so that cross grade level connection is like super strong and important. I can't imagine though, because I had teams of like literally the biggest team I was on of second grade teachers was 13 teachers. There's 13 second grade teachers. And I was the team leader, and it was 13 people. And you like, it's so many to keep track of. And like our school, no, I know. But like the benefit is that you have so many people to like hash things out with. Like you can, run things by another. I can't imagine like it just being me. Like I'm the sole giver of all second grade information. Like,
what am I missing? Yeah.
Yes. Like I need to make sure. And like also almost not in a competitive way, but in a way of like, how are your kids doing? Like, am I not like, why are my kids not doing as well in main idea? Like, and what am I not even like,
right. What are you doing when you're teaching it?
Yes. What are you, how
I
are
need
you
a new idea.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that same teaching partner, she was younger than I am. She was like my little sister is what I felt like, but she was so good at teaching math. And I remember when we both were teaching math before we partnered, and it was, double digit addition or subtraction with regrouping. And I'm like, my kids cannot get this. And I'm like, what are you doing that I'm not doing? And let me watch you, because I need to see. And so I can't even, that just blows my mind.
No, it was funny because last year was my first year in third grade, and we do Bridges math. And I don't remember what we were doing. We were working with a number line. I think we were doing double digit addition with number lines. I had never used a number line before. So the first day I go in and I start talking, and I got lost and I quit. And the second day I go, okay, go home, go study it. Okay, this is what we're going to say. Go in, got a little farther, totally lost. Ran out of, I don't even know what I'm talking about here. And the third day I went to the principal and I said, I am really struggling. I need to talk through this with you before I go back to my classroom the third day in a row and try to do it. And so she helped get me through that. And then since that time, I've gotten much better with number lines in math. And then as it turns out, I have a para in my room for math this year. And when we did the double digits addition with the number line, she just gave me this blank stare, and I have no idea how to do this math. And I'm like, I'm not the only one. I said, you should have seen me last year. It was ridiculous that I couldn't do it. But so that part is hard, not to have that collaboration with somebody else at grade level.
Yes, no. And it changed because we didn't say that on the air, that you taught for a while and then you took 20 years and went into a different industry. And now you're back teaching, which like math looked like math did when we were kids, but probably in the beginning when you first started teaching. And now it's like, I don't understand this math. And that's a perfect example of something where I'm like, I need help.
Exactly. And where am I going to get that? That's where the Facebook groups have been fantastic for filling those gaps, because I can be in my reading curriculum group and I can be in the math curriculum group and follow what other people are doing or where they're running into trouble in what unit. And that part is great to have that collaboration, at least.
I think so too. It's so nice to have that group of people where you feel like they get you and you get them, and like you can troubleshoot things even with behavior. Like even that, like I have this kid that's doing this, what do I do? I think that is so helpful. And it's funny because when I put out the post about like wanting to talk about standards-based grading, like it wasn't very many people that responded. They were ready to talk about other things, but like nobody was ready to talk about that. And I'm like, I wonder how this actually is going, like nationally. Like, how is this going? So
I guess I feel like having left education and come back into it, and now in this realm, I feel like standards-based grading allows for you to know so much more about where kids are in their learning.
Mm-hmm.
That part I think is really good. And then again, it's a guide then for planning what pieces we need to reteach or diversify, plan differently, or how we're going to meet all those needs. We just have such a better idea of where the student is in their learning. And and of course, as a teacher, we're always waiting for the light bulb to go on. So my little struggling reader that tested yesterday at grade level, I was just doing cartwheels because I don't know when it started to click for him, but he came in at a first grade reading level in the fall, and he goes to title every day and he adores the title teacher, and we work on what we work on in class, and he is just come along. It's amazing.
That's exciting. So exciting.
See that. Yeah.
I missed that part. Yeah, I really missed that part. Like that was my favorite part. Those light bulb moments, and and watching them like change so drastically in just such a short time.
Exactly.
That's really incredible. Well, thank you so much, Erin. I really appreciate you coming on.
This was just terrific.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was so happy to be engaged with someone that's doing my thing too.
Me too.
And thank you for sticking around and taking a listen to two educators talking about standards-based grading. It can be definitely a shift, and we have to look at it in a way that we're getting the kids moving towards
a complete mastery of the standard and understanding that. And sometimes it looks different in the beginning of the year than it does in the end of the year, which is completely understandable. And I know that some districts will have them like working towards the standard the entire quarter so that they may not be meeting or exceeding at the beginning of the year, and they may be working towards that. And I know that other states and other districts are taking a look at the standard, and they're kind of breaking it down into like a mentor or like a specific one that they're like part of the standard they're working towards in the first quarter and the second quarter and third quarter and fourth quarter, so that the student could actually be earning, meeting, and exceeding earlier in the year because they've met that part of the standard, or that's what it looks like at that particular time in the year. And so I think there's a variety of different ways to do that. And I'm interested to hear more perspectives on that and hear what people are doing, because I think that as we wrap our brain around this, it's, important for us to see what the thoughts and thinking of other educators and other professionals in the field. So if you'd like to talk about standards-based grading, you've been doing it for a while and now you're moved to standards-based report cards, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk to some more people and, go a little deeper into this, do a little bit more research and understanding, and share some of those findings with you. I did mention a product that I have that I know has been helpful for teachers. They've written me some really great things about how it helped them tremendously with their standards-based report cards. And also, like I said, a school district purchased it, and that was very exciting. So if you're interested in having the reading standards done for you in literature and informational text, and you are needing something that will give you a common assessment, then check out my standards-based assessment bundle. It's in my store on TPT. I'll link to it in the show notes. And as always, this one tired teacher is ready for a long winter's nap. We are having like bursts of winter in Florida, which is, crazy for us, but it's still here. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.